Welcome to Cage Free Voices Radio, an innovative educational entertainment radio show where youth and young adults have the opportunity to see themselves even if the world is blind. I am your host, Bathsheba Smithen. So we have with us here today an incredible worship artist, and I have the privilege of having him as my director of music or worship leader at my church. So I'm really excited about this interview. He is one of a few worship leaders at Lifepoint Church in Waldorf, Maryland. Shout out to Pastor Michael Rogalski, one of the most awesome pastors. But yes, we have Emmanuel Benton, and he goes by Manny Benton. He is a worship leader at Lifepoint Church in Waldorf, Maryland, and an emerging pop/worship artist. His debut single, I Look to You, was released last July. Manny was raised in Fort Washington, Maryland, and has worked in the field of sports journalism for 7 years, covering the Washington Redskins. Go ahead. His work has been highlighted by both local and national media outlets, including the Washington Post and ESPN. When he's not writing worship songs and discussing football, that's a terrible combination. Worship and football.
Worship and football,
some
right.
people worship when
Yes.
they watching football.
Absolutely.
Manny enjoys pretending to know what he's doing in the kitchen. So you cook too, huh?
I do love to cook.
We're talking about dreams and spirituality today with Manny Benton. Manny, say something to the people.
What's up, guys? I'm so glad to be here. Bathsheba, awesome spoken word artist. Love you, man. And just great and just so grateful to be here today.
We're grateful to have you. I want to journey into your process of becoming a worship leader. How did you, because my mind is just baffled because I'm looking at your bio and you've been into sports and journalism. How did you go from that, or were you doing both at the same time?
Well, that's why I'm happy that you picked out this topic because dreams and spirituality, it kind of is interesting. It's an interesting subject because sometimes you have a dream and a vision for your own life, but God has something different for you. And that definitely was big in my life. In high school, I wanted to be a sports writer. I was able to accomplish that, but the Lord definitely shifted my passion and my heart towards worship. I started leading worship. My grandfather was a pastor. I grew up in the church. I didn't start leading worship until I was about in 9th grade or so.
You said like it was a long time. Ninth grade, leading worship in 9th grade. Are you serious?
Yeah. I would lead worship, and most of the songs we did, I wrote. I had a small praise team, and I would write songs to kind of make it fit their voices and our style of service. Yeah. Nice.
So have you always been a follower of Christ?
I have always been a follower of Christ. I grew up in a church, have always had that covering, with my grandfather being a pastor. But I think for anybody that grew up like a preacher's kid or you grew up in a church, there's that moment in your life where you're like, oh, my goodness, you have to decide if you're really for God, if you're not. And that definitely happened for me in middle school. I would say around 7th, 8th grade, I had to make that commitment to either being for Christ or not for Christ. And I had a lot of convictions, and I chose Christ. And from that point
in middle school,
I chose Christ. And from that point on, I would stand on my convictions. As I started leading worship, I would make sure that I was doing things the right way. And so in middle school, that was like my pivotal point in my life.
What prompted you to make that choice?
I think I was getting in trouble with a few things in school.
Talk about some of those things, because young people, youth and young adults need to hear that there's an opportunity to change things around.
Yeah, so I was using a lot of profanity in school. I had this clique where we had like a fake rap group where we thought we were the stuff in middle school, and but it was a lot of like bullying going around and stuff, and I was a part of that. I'm a small person, but I was still bullying guys and using profanity and stuff, and I wasn't doing anything terrible, but I knew that wasn't what the Lord called me to do at that point in my life. I knew that I was supposed to be living my life for God and not out here trying to be somebody that He didn't create me to be. And so I chose Christ at that point in my life just because I knew I wasn't doing things the right way.
So how did you get involved? Because I'm interested as an educator.
Yeah.
How'd you end up finding yourself bullying other students?
So I thought it was cool, just because at that time my friends were doing it, and we felt like we were the most popular guys in the school. We would go around and just pick on people who just weren't, didn't have high self-esteem and all that stuff. And like I said, just because I felt like that made me cool, that made me a popular person, I did it just for that.
So when you stopped, did you, what was that process like with your friends? When you stopped bullying, when you said, I'm stopping all of this?
Yeah, when I stopped bullying and when I stopped using profanity and started, truly living my life for Christ, my relationships with those people definitely died down. Yeah. I definitely found myself in a place where I had to find new friends. I ended up going to a new school also. But my relationships with those guys definitely, changed because I wasn't out there doing the things that they were. I stopped completely listening to secular music and things like that, just because it was making me a person that I know I wasn't supposed to be.
So you made the decision to stop listening to certain music,
yeah,
because it was impacting your ability to connect
Absolutely.
with God.
Absolutely,
that's what I hear you saying.
Absolutely.
How would you define worship?
Worship, it's you decreasing yourself and allowing God to increase Himself. I always call it just creating space. When I'm up there, at church and leading worship, my mentality is for us to create space for God to move and for the congregation to become more aware of His presence. So just clearing out all the distractions and making it all about God so that they can see Him clearly, and so they get to, get impacted by Him in that type of setting.
How is spirituality connected to the pursuit of your dream?
I think it's big. Because sometimes, like I said earlier in the show, you have a dream for yourself, but if you're in tune with God, oftentimes He can give you a vision or a dream that is totally different than what you grew up, dreaming about. And if you're connected with God in that standpoint, you will yield to that, and you will listen to Him and definitely pursue the calling that He has on your life, because that's your ultimate purpose. And you have to be in line with what He's calling you to.
I gave my life to Christ when I was 14, right?
Really?
And I'd love to hear what your process was like when you gave your life so early on, because you say you shifted things like in middle school.
Yeah.
What would you say to young people who are trying to pursue their dreams and they already know what it is they want to do? Because you're saying that spirituality is significant in this process of pursuing your dreams. What are the steps that they can take to grow closer to God, or to even get to know Him?
Yeah, I think definitely it's important for you to start getting to know Him for yourself.
Yeah.
Start connecting with Him through scripture reading. Yeah. Try to connect with fellow Christians, and just have that accountability. I think that's really important. For me, because I grew up in church, I already had that foundation. So I knew I just had to stop doing those things and just start doing things that I know the Lord wanted me to do. But it was just important for me to start connecting, building up my prayer life, and just digging in the Word and figuring out what the Lord wanted me to do with my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about students who may not have that foundation, but their interest has been piqued just listening to this?
Yeah, if your interest is piqued, definitely try to find yourself a church home. If you don't know anybody that, know any Christians, I would definitely try to find a church that's Bible-based, and get plugged in, because it's important to have that biblical foundation. A lot of times we tell people just go get a Bible, just read it, and try to connect to God that way. But a lot of people, the Bible can be intimidating. Yeah. And some people just don't know how to really learn from the Word. So it's important to get people, build relationships, and work together as we all grow in faith together. I think it's important just to help each other out that way.
What's the most exciting part about worshiping and being a worship leader?
What's the most exciting part? Wow, that's interesting. I love when God just takes over, and it happens and you feel it. in the middle of a song, and God just completely takes over. I don't even know what I'm singing, don't even know what I'm playing, but you just know that God is moving. And when you're connected to him that way, it's amazing, you know, how lives can be changed just in a moment because of how he's moving in that atmosphere.
When you're writing your music, do you go through a state of perpetual worship before you write the lyrics? Are you praying over your lyrics? I know people say there are different processes and stuff that they go through when they're writing, and not just like worship leaders or people who write Christian music per se. There are certain things that people do when they're writing. So what's your creative process?
For me, I need things to be quiet. Sometimes I just drive. I turn off the radio. I drive. I listen to the road, and it feels like I'm just me and God. And I've written a lot of songs that way. I Look to You came that way, just driving and nothing going on in the car, just the stillness of it all. It just makes it very peaceful, clears your mind, and just really is just you and God at that point. And I've written a lot of songs that way. I think that's my way of becoming creative and writing is just being quiet and in a silent place.
Yeah, silence is really good. I tell my daughter sometimes, you don't have to fill up the space with noise.
No.
Make sure that if you're going to say something, you have something to say.
Absolutely.
And thinking about just you talking about how when you drive, that's when you get like a whole lot of creativity, like God is speaking to you during that time. I remember I'm on, what was that, 295. And all of a sudden this poem just drops and downloads into my spirit. And I'm like trying to grab my phone and type it, like use the audio recorder and say everything that's coming to me at one time. So I get that experience because you have to have yourself open and you have to be connected to God to be able to experience stuff like that. And worship is definitely key to going into, like, I don't want to sound like, super spiritual, but it's key to going to the next level.
Absolutely.
And when you do, you have to do it in spirit and in truth, like the word says. So tell us more about I Look to You. What's the storyline behind that? Yeah,
so I Look to You, I had just decided that I was going to record a single, and I had a couple other songs in mind, but out of the blue, like I said, I was just driving around, and the chorus came in my mind. And so when I got home and I got down into my basement to my piano, I started just reading the faith chapters in Hebrews, from Hebrews 11 to 13.
Wow.
And the verse that really just stood out was in Hebrews 13:14, where it talks about, here on this earth there's no enduring city, but we seek one yet to come. And it just kind of set an alarm in my mind, because when you think about a lot of things that's going on in the world, we should know as Christians that there's no enduring city here on earth, but our mind has to always be on God and has to always be on that kingdom that is yet to come. Because when your mind is set on God and when you're looking to him throughout all the trials and tribulations, you're going to have peace because you know that you're going to enter into the kingdom one day. And so that's kind of where that song came from, is that our hope is in God. Our hope is in being able to enter that kingdom one day. And so we have to keep our eyes on him throughout all trials and tribulations. Every step of the way, you have to keep your eye on him.
How can this song help the listeners? Like, I hear you say peace and pretty much like long suffering, kind of.
Yeah.
And what other ways do you think, like, connected to something that you think is prominent or pressing in the lives of the listeners, those between the ages of 13 to 25 or even beyond that? What are some of the issues that this song addresses?
Yeah, for youth and young adults, I think it's important to know that there is hope. I think sometimes a lot of things happen in your life, especially at that age, and you kind of get down on yourself, and you start doubting yourself and start just doubting, am I good enough? Am I going to be able to become somebody? And so I just think that it's important to, instead of getting down on yourself and just getting down in the dumps, is to turn your eyes to God and seek him, because that's where you're going to find your hope, and it's ultimately going to bring peace to you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Manny Benton with I Look to You.
is my strength when I am weak, when oceans roar, still I have peace. He is my hope when hope seems gone. I look to God and God alone. I look to you. I look to you. Your ways are perfect. Your words are true. I look to you. I look to you. In you there's hope. I look to you. He is my portion. He bore my pain. Despised, rejected, but rose again. He loves us more than we'll ever know. I look to God and God alone. I look to you. I look to you. Your ways are perfect. Your words are true. I look to you. I look to you. In you there's hope. I look to you. And you are the way, truth, and the life. My hope is in you. And you are the way, truth, and the life. My hope is in you. I look to you. I look to you. Your ways are perfect. Your words are true. I look to you. I look to you. In you there's hope. I look to you. Oh, I look to you. I look to you. I look to you. Your ways are perfect. Your words are true. I look to you. I look to you. In you there's hope. I look to you.
That was beautiful. Ooh. I hope this song blesses many of you who may be going through whatever it is that you're going through at this time. Turn your eyes and look to God. Look to Jesus. Thank you so much, Manny.
Thank you.
For that beautiful worship song. It's just even like I'm in a different space right now. I feel like,
Praise God.
like I'm at Lifepoint right now.
Praise God.
Praise God. Praise God for your heart and for your obedience. And continue doing what you're doing. Thank you for blessing this radio show with your gift. Guys, remember to see yourselves even if the world is blind. Reflect, connect, and transcend every internal and external barrier that will try to cage your voice. Be cage free. Thank you.